Welcome back to another episode of Just Reading. So, today we're going to talk about my February nonfiction pick, All About Love by Bell Hooks. This one is actually creative nonfiction, and it was a blind buy for me. I decided to pick it up on a recommendation from one of my favorite authors, Kennedy Ryan, who just came out with a recent, her recent work is This Could Be Us. And in an interview I saw her do, or it wasn't an interview, she was speaking on her Instagram, and she said that a book that influenced quite a bit of her writing for this novel was Bell Hooks' All About Love. So once she said that, immediately I went to my cart and I bought it. I know nothing of the book going in. I had no idea if it was fictional or non-fictional. I had no idea if it was a work of poetry. To be honest, the cover made me assume that it was a work of poetry. But upon reading, I realized it was actually a non-fictional work. And it discusses different aspects of love, specifically romantic love in our modern society. Now, it was written over 20 years ago. 2000 is the published date. And it dates itself to some of the references in a way, but it also still connects to what is happening now in 20 something years later. So this episode is all about love. My takeaways, my thoughts, things that stood out to me as I was reading. Um, and then I suppose once I have gotten a chance to read This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, I am hoping to see connections, perhaps, and perhaps I might not. But I was very curious to see how this or what this work was about to have influenced her so much in her next novel. So let's get into it. Let's talk about love. So, as always, I like to put up some of the quotes that really stood out to me as I was reading the book. And so here on you have these ones that the wounded heart learns self-love by first overcoming low self-esteem. Give ourselves the love we're often dreaming about getting from others. The light of love is always in us. And to choose growth is to embrace a love that heals. When you go through this book, Bell Hooks discusses different aspects of love. And at first, as I was reading, and I had to kind of reread a bit too, some chapters that I made note of, I thought perhaps she was just focusing on romantic love, but she really wasn't. She was focusing on all aspects of love. She talks about love between friends. She talks about platonic love. She talks about familial love. She talks about even love of our work, of what we do in order to earn a living, and how to be more productive in it by using a love ethic. And it was really interesting and a little eye opening. It made me think of love in terms that I hadn't really thought of before. In relation to myself, my family, it just made me kind of self reflect. And I love books that give you space to do that. And this was one of those books. You might not agree with all the points that she makes in terms of love within the society. And then again, you might, it's a book where I think personally it's okay to agree to disagree. Again, reading is subjective, so you'll have your own takeaways. But there were just a really few key points in it that I thought, wow, they were my aha moments, right? And so some of those quotes I kind of just threw on the screen so that you could see it. But it's a book, like a lot of the books that I probably would recommend for nonfiction, that you have to read for yourself to kind of just delve into and see what your takeaway is, right? She at one point talked about low self-esteem and the adage that people like to throw out there about loving yourself before you can love others, which in my opinion is a very true statement. There is no way that you can fully, completely, and honestly love another human being if you cannot love and value your own self. But then she really goes into it. And I love how she also puts quotes out there from other authors that she has used and that have informed her thought processes and her writing. I mean, she goes from who was it? I think it was like a Toni Morrison, to other to Alec Baldwin, to Martin Luther King. She uses contemporary writers, like the author from that book that was really popular years ago, um, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Like she really researched and delved into what love meant and how to act it out, because all throughout her book she's basically just saying, like, love is a verb. Love is something that we do. It is not something that is simply out there that you fall into, but is something that you have to be on purpose about. A few more quotes. Living life in touch with divine spirit lets us see the light of love in all living things. It's not what you do, but how you do it. A blissful household is one where love can flourish. We can give ourselves unconditional love. And these, when she also delves into spirituality and the connection between us having a spiritual love and a divine acknowledgement of a divine presence, and how that too can impact how we view the world through love, through the lens of love. And she talks about being in a blissful household, a home that is filled with love, a home where partners encourage each other, where love can flourish, and giving ourselves that unconditional love before we can give it to others. It's not what you do, but it's how you do it. How do you do a thing? How do you present yourself to the world? Like, all these things really spoke to my heart as I was just going through her work. Last but not least, the path to love is not hidden, but we must choose to take the first step. That one was so poignant to me, because so many times we hear people out in our world talking about love being hard to find, and and it can be true, as well as just something that you put yourself out there and engage in. She had many relationships, and she speaks to her own relationships throughout the book. Um, and she even talks about how when she was finding love, her loves were not permanent. And it took her a minute to realize that just because they weren't permanent doesn't make them any less valuable to her life and the people she shared that love with. And I thought that was such a cool way to even look at it, because a lot of times, and she says it in her work, we are so geared and so trained to think that love must be permanent, that romantic love must be permanent in order to have value, right? And she gave us a different way to look at it. And it's like, no, it being temporary also made it have value. I thought that was really cool. And then she talked about healing is an act of communion, healing ourselves, healing our relationships, healing our past hurts, whether it's from childhood or anything that caused this pain, finding it within ourselves and finding resources to heal. When we practice love, we want to give more. Practicing love opens up our hearts to the world. It gets rid of that pain that we've healed ourselves from, and it allows us to give more, not just in physical, monetary things, but emotional things as well. And then this one, the practice of love takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. We have to actively take our time and practice it until it becomes second nature to us. Second nature to us, and just walk in divine love. I really enjoyed this work. I enjoyed the book. I was surprised going into it. I thought it was going to be a work of poetry, perhaps, or but it was a blind buy, like I said. But I was not disappointed with it at all. And I have Kennedy Ryan's "This Could Be Us" here. I've bought it, but I haven't opened it up yet. Haven't cracked the spine yet. Not literally, I don't crack my book spines, but so I am really looking forward and eager to diving into that one and just seeing the connections that I might find between a book that influenced her to write "This Could Be Us." I thought it was fascinating. So pick this one up if you want, if you're curious, and give it a shot. I think you guys would enjoy it. And anyway, you know what it is. Keep on reading, guys.